Bruno, Alexandre, welcome. So now we would like to talk about another topic, and I guess that you will first make a short introduction of your role in your company. But the idea is to talk about how to automate and optimize the management of commodity hedging and mitigate the risk, because we know that we have high volatility in the market. So earlier on, we talk about FX volatility, FX hedging. Now let's talk about commodities. So maybe
and FX.
And FX, because you do both, yeah, of course. But we will talk about more commodity this time. So maybe first a short introduction, Bruno, for those who do not yet know you.
Of course.
Who are you and the company you work for?
So yes, thanks, François. So I'm the group treasurer of FERRERO since last year. So since the end of 2023. So I manage the treasury function for the group. As you may know, the headquarters is in Luxembourg, and most of the treasury function is based in Luxembourg. So we manage the traditional treasury, DCM, cash and liquidity, risk management, and trade finance. And amongst others, there's of course the system strategy associated to these treasury functions. So as you know, FERRERO is kind of the traditional, let's say, brands like Nutella, Kinder, or Tic Tac, for example.
Yeah. And you have a long-standing experience of working for large multinational companies as head of treasury.
Yes, and in most of the case, there's almost always a system transformation in it, surprisingly.
Okay, and I guess you can talk about that. Alexandre, tell us about you and DeftHedge.
Few words, yes. So I'm the CSO of DeftHedge, we are trying to develop DeftHedge. Can I just present DeftHedge now, or
yeah, okay. Let's start.
So yeah, just a few words, and very few words on DeftHedge. The idea tonight is just you heard Bruno, and thank you very much for taking your time here. So the idea, just showing this slide and only this one, the idea is to understand who we are. So DeftHedge is a reporting tool dedicated on FX to manage your FX risk and commodity risk, and which helps in the decision-making process. So that means that in the map on the different tools we're using, we are in the middle, in the center, and we communicate and integrate data from the ERP and accounting system to build the exposure. So we heard a lot about exposure from contacts, and we know how this topic is hard. So we build a dedicated tool to integrate this data coming from the system. Then we help in the execution. So we are not like contacts present on the execution of the deal. We just send to contacts, for example, or multi-dealing platform, or other actor like contacts as Ibery, the deal that our client wants to put in place. And we also communicate with the different TMS to fill in the cash forecasting related to the FX exposure we are managing in DeftHedge. Yeah. Just few figures. We've been created now for 7 years. We are managing in the tool 30 billion FX, and about Olivier, sorry, do you have the figure about the commodities, the global volume we have in commodities? I don't have it. It's only 15 million of commodities. And yes, we help our clients to manage this risk, to have a clear vision of this risk, and to decide how they want to hedge themselves. And then we go a little bit further on the impact on P&L by calculating the gain, the FX gain or FX losses, and also by delivering the IFRS 9 reporting, which is not the topic tonight.
but it's an important issue.
But yeah.
So I'm curious, could you explain where you both met, in what circumstances?
Yeah. Well, we met in Vienna 2 years ago now at Eurofinance, and then in the year after we had a different discussion about the needs and the challenge you were facing. And last year, day for day, it was at the ATEL. We're just starting to land the collaboration, and yes, are working now for I think nearly 9 months on FX first, and commodities risk at FERRERO.
And Bruno, do you remember how you found it maybe relevant for FERRERO, because you were really brand new in the job, as you explained, to discuss and to further explore the DeftHedge solution for US?
Yeah, so as Alexandre mentioned, I think the first real conversation about the let's say the touch points between our challenge and the tool was after the tech conference here. So it was really yes, a good.
It's useful.
Exactly, definitely a useful conference last year from that standpoint. So yes, the challenge we have is really not so much indeed on the TMS side, because we already started a strategy to implement a TMS for the derivatives transaction. So we are changing that aspect as well. And we have the whole cash and liquidity in SAP. So on the SAP side, it's more about enhancing the capabilities with the S4HANA and everything that comes with it. Mm-hmm. So it's the landscape was kind of already set on TMS and on ERP. I think what we're looking for is more a combination of reporting tool, a kind of decision support for more the trading for the front office, and also more the valuation side. And I think that's these are the main, let's say, points of discussion we had at the beginning, and that's what kind of drove us, or at least got us into deep diving more into the requirements.
When we talk about commodities, maybe for the delegates to better understand, what are the type of commodities you are exposed to, and how many commodities, by the way?
So at FERRERO, it's really around the ags, so all the agriculture commodities, as you can imagine, cocoa, hazelnuts, sugar, milk, everything like that. It's around the freight, so packaging and freight, and it's around the energy. So if you sum up everything, you'll be around 10, 15, depending how you break out maybe dairy products in different ones, or if you look at that as one category. But it's a sizable, of course, category for us. When you think we probably have 20, 25 currencies that we actively follow, I mean, commodities is almost, is a bit more than half of that. So it's really sizable for us.
So you have both type of risk, and for some commodities, you are one of the largest player in the world. So I guess it's huge volumes.
And I think unlike FX, where there's much more standardization and much more volume overall, I mean, there's still a lot of these markets that are not so standard when you go OTC or futures. And also a lot of them are not very liquid. So when you are a very big player, let's say in cocoa, and you look at some of the periods of the futures, for example, you would really be able to move the market with a standard volume. So it's much more a market where there's a tendency to use a combination of OTC and futures, and sometimes also structures as well. And that's one of the drivers as well.
And all your commodities exposures are commodities that you can, let's say, you have an organized market where you can find
not all of them, like hazelnuts would be one that does not have
because you have a major buyer of hazelnut in the world.
But I think when you think hazelnuts has other implications. So that's a link between a commodity and an FX exposure, because as you may know, I mean, Turkey is the biggest producer of hazelnuts by far. So there's a link to TRY that is very strong. And so it's an example of a market where there's no futures market. There are some indirect indices that needs to be tracked down to risk manage. Let's say the hazelnut in some countries, like in Chile, and then you have a very high TRY risk, which is not the most, let's say, stable currency.
Of course, yeah. And now you have a good control on your FX exposure. As you mentioned, you have many currencies because you sell roughly everywhere in the world, I guess, or quasi, where it's authorized, of course, when you don't have sanctions. But what about the commodities? What do you plan to do and to develop with the solution of DeftHedge?
I think so. To kind of deep dive a bit more into the DeftHedge, and I will start with the main drivers. I think for us, the main drivers when we discussed the solution was really around the agility and also the evolution of the solution in terms of reporting and decision support, but also a lot around valuation. because unlike we were not looking so much for, let's say, currency enhancements or let's say the end-to-end solution in FX, for example, but we were definitely looking for a solution that was combining exposure, the derivatives, all the sensitivity associated to it, but also that a lot of different types of derivatives could be valued in the tool, and the sensitivity associated to it as well is so because we are not using only linear products, we are using depending on the market, the currency, the time, more strategic structures as well. We need the valuation side, and so we were more benchmarking the pretty much DeftHedge against Mars of Bloomberg. We were not so much benchmarking against Fire Apps or Atlas or Contox. The benchmarking would have been more against valuation tools. And so this combination of valuation, reporting, and decision support, alongside the fact that to be really a tool that was in evolution and was also having the commodity, which was for us a very strong additional factor to choose the tool, really helped to so that these were the main discussions we had last year that drove a little bit the start of the discussion. I would have said valuation, especially of more complex products,
reporting,
and in commodity alongside reporting and decision support.
Okay, for hedge accounting or for, I don't know if you apply.
So less for hedge accounting, much more because
requirement from auditors or
I mean, more in the decision support, more because we have these like 25 currency, 15, let's say, commodity categories, just to try to show and report on the tracking and how we decide to go in the market earlier with one and all that. I think if you don't have really a more automated reporting and more dashboarding approach, it's much more difficult to go into pretty much to management or to the other functions like procurement to get decisions. And so automate that part versus a more customized approach before was is one of the driver to implement. And,
if I can just add a word, it gives you as group a global view at your level and also a granular view for each position, for each commodities to your team who have to manage, so they know the performance on each level, and you have also a consolidated view, gives you a clear view, a global view on the impact of the FX or commodity risk for the group.
Correct. So it's a real dashboard. So you have a dashboard at consolidated level. Then you can drill down in the different, in this case, currencies or commodities, and then you can drill down in exposure side, derivative side, and then you have also the sensitivity, because when you don't use linear products, I mean, sensitivity is not the same on the strengthening and on the weakening side as well.
And you have some correlation between the different commodities, or are you also managing the?
So in our specific case, I mean, there may be some correlations within the categories, I guess, within S&P for milk or in cream and other types of course, then you probably have some in the energy and also in the paper versus some packaging and all. For the rest, I mean, it's mostly categories that you treat separately.
Yeah. And so what are the future developments? So are you developing new commodities or extending?
We also are able to manage and follow all commodities. It's just a question of the index our clients are using, and we are following all the currencies. So I think...
Yeah, just a question. When it's a commodity that is not, let's say, properly market, you don't have futures market, etc. What are you doing to value a portfolio of contract to cover your purchase of hazelnuts?
No, I think hazelnuts is a specific example because indeed hazelnuts for us is a TRY risk. It's more about at which point it becomes an exposure. You see, because there's also price setting and all. I think the goal for the tool is much more the ones where you still have index or you have other things like that. Okay. The advantage, though, I believe, and sorry if I put you on the spot there, but there are still some commodities that are not directly hedged, but are still have prices based on indexes. Like you can say hazelnuts in Chile, for example, is based on a combination of export index of Turkey and a TRY USD combination. maybe there's the advantage of having more system that is in evolution is that there's maybe more ability or willingness as well to try to build some kind of trial to put that exposure in the system. Where I think the more standardized system, I mean, you would never manage to convince, I don't know, Bloomberg Mars to actually develop something.
I think we have a mature product, but we have this agility to adapt ourselves if there are specific needs or new.
You can easily be plugged to a TMS system and being interface, so it works quite well with your current solution.
Correct. And also, importing the ERP data.
Okay. No, very interesting. And so if you have any questions, so at least Olivier and Alexandre are there to answer your question, or Bruno as a user. Thanks a lot for your very interesting comments.